So, hello and welcome back to the new episode of Frankie with College Vidya. And today we have got a engineer on our show. So, he is a software engineer who's working in San Francisco, California. And he's going to give you an insight about his career and how he is working in his profession so that you can make a better decision about your career. So, hello, Akshay. Hi.
Hi, Sukriti, can you
Thanks for
hear me?
joining us and thank you for sparing your precious time. I hope, I guess it's 10 p.m. there.
hmm Not a bad time. 10
Not a
p.m. on
bad
a
time, but
Sunday
it's a
night.
bad time for me because it's 10 p.m. here, 10 a.m. here, and it's pretty early for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
But no,
so
honestly, thanks for inviting me. And yeah, excited to share anything that you guys want from me. So I'm all yours. All yours, rather.
I have been seeing you, I think, since 2015. I think that was the no, not 2015, 2017.
2018. 18.
Sorry. I think that was the time when we were together in Unfound.
Right.
So tell us about your journey.
Unfound.AI.
What?
Unfound.ai.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. That is important, surely, for you. And I remember how we used to come for any bug that was there and we used to tell you to solve it. And I have always seen you as a very passionate and enthusiastic person. I mean, in your stream, in the profession that you have, and you are. Stop being modest.
Okay, I'm flattered. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. But yeah,
So yeah. So tell us about your journey and talk about Unfound. I mean, what did you learn from there and how was your journey there? Give
mm,
an introduction to the audience.
sure, yeah. So it has been like a very common journey, I would say, because you know the state of engineering in India, right? There are so many engineers and stuff, and that too, computer science engineering. So it's not like a niche thing that I'll be talking about today. But at the same time, I think it's important to, even though computer science, computer engineering is very popular, everyone has heard of it, but to see what actually lies ahead, sitting at, let's say, 12th standard, 11th standard, this is, I think, very, not many people know about it. At least when I was there, I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
So, yeah. So, just going back, 11, 12, when you picked science, right? And in that, at that time, people or students, when they give the main thing that's, looming on your head, it's obviously IIT and JEE for science students, right?
Yeah.
So that's the focus. People don't care, or it's natural, right? You don't worry about what you do after that, you know, in electrical, computer science, or whatever. So you
Right.
don't know what lies ahead, and it makes sense. The focus is the entrance exam that we call it. So similarly, I was preparing 11, 12 JEE, IITs, and this bunch of classes and all those things going on. And yeah, like 99% of the people I didn't really get into IIT. So even though I tried,
Yeah.
so yeah, so if not IIT, the second option is going for engineering, colleges, normal other than the premier institutes.
Oh,
So
what was your where did you graduated from?
so yeah, so 11, 12, my schooling was from Father Agnes. It's in Vashi, Navi Mumbai. So
Mm-hmm.
after that, after giving like when selecting colleges, I actually got into Vidyalanka. It comes under Mumbai University. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
college in Mumbai, in Vadala specifically. So and I chose computer science engineering or computer engineering as my stream.
Okay.
So
So
it's
were
it's
you
actually a
sure
funny.
back then itself that you are going? Were you sure?
I was just getting there.
Ah,
So that's the most, if I look back when I'm old or even now, I think that's the most pivotal part of my journey, I would say, because 11, 12, right? You don't like, you study computers and you have it as a subject, but it's
mm,
very basic. Okay. So I had it, but I did not have any much interest in computer science in 11, 12. Even it had like basic programming and stuff. So I was like, oh, just get done with it. Because back then, that's not a core subject like that you score marks in. That's a vocational subject, like an extra
Mm.
subject, right? So the main focus in 11, 12 is maths, science, physics, chemistry, all those things. And I
Yeah.
actually loved chemistry.
You love
So I
chemistry?
was, oh my, I like, so in the exam, right, for IITs and stuff,
Mm.
there is equal weightage for all three: physics, chemistry, maths.
Mm.
So 33%.
Mm.
In fact, I while study, usually students focus more on maths and physics.
Yeah.
Sorry, not physics and, yeah, maths and physics, and they
Maths.
kind of,
Mm.
yeah, chemistry. So yeah, sorry, those are the three divisions: maths, physics, and chemistry. And people
Yeah.
kind of ignore chemistry. For me, it was the other way around. I actually loved chemistry so much. I prepared only for chemistry. Maths and physics was, so that was maybe one of the not maybe, it was one of the reasons I didn't do very well in IITs probably. But because uh, I did okay. But that time I was like, okay, I loved studying chemistry. I want to become, like, the obvious next thing would that was, I'll become a chemical engineer. So that's what, if people who love chemistry, they follow. There's a thing called chemical engineering,
Right, right.
which was very interesting for me at that point,
Okay.
because it's a natural thing that whatever you like, you want to make a career in that, right? So
Absolutely.
that was where I was in 12. But then a very big thing happened. Chemical engineering is not a very popular course or field as compared to computers or electronics. Okay, so that's the distribution is skewed.
Mm.
So the way it happens is, and the distribution I'm saying in terms of the engineering seats in colleges.
Okay.
So yeah, so usually
Talking
you
about
have
the
a lot of,
scope of chemical engineering, I mean, do you think
yeah,
there's a scope?
yeah. So both two things. So one is getting in. You have to let's say you decide to get into chemical, you need to get into a college which offers chemical engineering. So where I'm coming from is that not many colleges offer chemical engineering as a course. So the seats are less,
Okay.
and I would say even not many students opt for that as well. So it's,
Okay.
you can see, right? No, like I said, people like physics, math. Not many people like chemistry. So
Mm.
naturally, there's lesser competition and lesser seats, which kind of makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was kind of pretty adamant that, okay, I want to do chemical engineering, I like chemistry and all that. But my parents, they were against this, like typical, Indian, this mentality,
Indian parents.
computer science, wherever there is the typical saying, right? Beta engineering karlo, bahut scope hai.
Mm.
Similarly, inside engineering, there is computer science karlo ya electronics karlo, bahut scope hai. So that's how it works. And chemical, my parents were kind of, hesitant to
Mm.
use the word, not against it,
Yeah.
but hesitant. Like they were like, are you sure? Have you talked to someone who is a chemical engineer? And I think this is very important because this is a lesson which I learned
Mm.
now, which is like 6, 7 years later. Actually, I read it in a book. Okay,
Okay.
so the saying it goes this way, that
Mm.
you oftentimes think that you want something, but when you go ahead, right, and that's not what you actually want.
Uh,
It's you think you want something, but it's not what you actually want at
yeah.
that time. Because of the circumstances, you feel that, okay, you want that, and you feel that, okay, this is it for me.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's better to just take a step back. And when a lot of people say something, you have to take that perspective into account, which is,
Right.
you don't see that at that point. And this is at the most important 12 standard stage, where I'm
Yeah.
saying this is where I was. So I could not, like, I didn't have like a, when my parents straight up asked me, like, have you talked to someone, like, do you know what lies ahead? And my dad is from that field. He is a not chemical engineer, but he
Ah,
did a BSc in science, and he's been
okay.
working with, he's a manager in Britannia. So
Okay.
he works in the factories and all that as a supervisor and all that.
Mm.
So he had actually gone through that life. It's not a desk job, what you call it. So it's
Mm.
a on field thing. So you have to go to industries. You have, the chemicals and all. Basically, it's like on field thing. You get
Mm.
what I'm saying. So I did not know this. I because what we study in textbook, okay, there's some diagrams, this is happening, that's happening, oh,
uh,
that looks very cool and stuff.
uh,
So I was more interested in that. I didn't know what lies ahead, even though, because you'll obviously project what you see, right? What you're studying. So this is something I missed, and my dad pointed that out. Okay, I didn't understand that. Then I was very angry and stuff, and my parents said, okay, just choose computers, 𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗃, and I was like, okay, whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's not like a very defined a 12th standard, right? So
right. I think a lot
yeah.
of people choose different stream, and then later on in later stage, as you said,
Mm,
that you
mm,
think you are good in this, and this is what is meant for you, but you later on decide on the circumstances decide that you have to do something else, and then you suddenly start liking it. I mean,
exactly,
that
exactly.
happens with a
So
lot of
yeah, so
people.
this is correct. So, and that exactly happened with me. So, initially, for the first year when I joined, right, computer science, I was very still in that, mode that, okay, this is not what I want to do. My parents forced me and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then after first year, after settling in, I made, like, you make new friends. It's like a 4 year bachelor's,
Yeah.
like undergrad. So, yeah, I settled in slowly. And from second year onwards, right, things started changing. First year is very general. You get all the basic courses. Like
Yeah.
you take any stream, you'll study the same physics, chemistry, math, and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Second year onwards, your stream specific courses start. So that's when in second year, computer science courses start. Took like a basic programming course,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized, okay, wait a minute. I actually, if I put in some effort, right, like I did for chemistry, just on a clean slate, just start over again.
Mm.
I actually did like it. Okay, just
Okay.
basic. It's not like super fundamental. Just simple code. You
Mm-hmm.
put something and you display something on the screen,
Mm.
and I liked it. The way it's like magic happening, right? When you know nothing about computer science and you write a code and something happens on its own. That was
This is
fascinating.
not for the
So
first time that I'm listening this. I have heard this from a cybersecurity professional too, and she said the same thing. She was very skeptical, and when she started learning, few things here and there,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's so this is I think the most like biggest insight that I or experience that I can share. If someone is sitting on the other side before like 11, 12, and making that big jump into engineering, right? This time I feel it's all about experimentation. You don't know what you want at this
take
point.
a leap of
Just
faith.
try, yeah, just try different things. You never know. How do you know you like something unless you've tried it or seen it, right?
Right.
So yeah, so this is what happened. Second year onwards, I took courses that like it's like a, what do you call it? You take one step, you learn more about it, and then you
Yeah.
get more interested in stuff, and you start doing more things. So
Mm.
yeah, so that's what happened in second year, third year, fourth year. I started doing like side projects,
You
and luckily
started
we are living in
enjoying.
an era. Yeah, yeah, same thing. And we live in an era with internet being, everything is available right now,
Mm.
YouTube and stuff, that.
Mm.
So we're very, everything, like privileged would be a word, that we have everything in front of us.
That's
It's just a matter of just, taking that step.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what happened second year, third year, fourth year. A lot of things, I got interested and I realized that, okay, this actually, I like doing it. I feel I'm good at it, and it gives me like a lot of options as well. So it's not like if you're doing computer science engineering,
Yeah.
you are going to do XYZ for the rest of your life. What I'm trying to say is the scope within computer engineering is huge, huge. So even though it seems like whatever you do, if
Mm.
all software engineers are just writing code,
Mm.
but it's actually not that. So just
I have a
imagine.
very basic question. I'm so sorry.
Sure.
So, how do you become a data scientist? I mean, that's such a huge. I think it's a profession out there right now, and it's a very high paying
Correct.
profession. Does it
Mm.
come somewhere in an engineering context? Is it like if somebody who's from an engineering background, a computer science background, will it be an amp to the person who pursues data science later on? Does engineering help?
Uh, yeah. So it's a good question actually, because not just for data science, there are many other fields within computer science which the same logic applies. What I'm going to say, that at the base of it, right? It's all, you're writing code at the end of the day. Even a data scientist is writing code.
Mm.
Even a computer scientist is writing code. Even someone working in, hardware, right?
Mm.
Even he is writing code in different languages, but they're writing code.
Mm.
So, so the one thing is writing code, and second thing is having the domain knowledge or expertise. And this is where so speaking of the specialization, you said, right, data
Yeah.
science. So if getting into data science or any specialization after this, it's like I said, part one is learning how to write code. So if you know that, you can, first box is checked. Second is a domain knowledge, which varies. So for data science, once you know how to write code, you need to learn what the expertise requires for that. And the things that you need for data science is a solid foundation in mathematics, which a lot of people don't understand. So machine learning, artificial
Mm.
intelligence, data science, this all come under one umbrella, which is a field which requires which is like developed on top of mathematics. Okay, a later coding came into it.
Yeah.
So this was research actually in 1950s, 1960s, machine learning and everything. It's just now that people have discovered how to, write it,
Yeah.
implement it, code it. That's why it's become popular. So yeah, so two things: learning how to write code, and second is learning maths, algebra, linear algebra. That's
Mm.
these concepts. This is what you use to write code on. So a data scientist will use all these formulas and stuff like that to write a code to,
So
make a
yeah,
model.
it does help. And what you are trying to say is mathematics and coding is the core of it.
Yeah, that's
So if you're good
correct.
at it, you can get
Correct.
into the stream.
Yeah. Also, a point that you brought up is like we feel that a lot of subjects we learn in school, right? It's of no use. We'll never use it.
Yeah.
But in specializations like these, right? This is where the domain knowledge comes into picture.
Mm.
If you're, just think about it. If you're writing the spaceships, right, and that NASA launches,
Mm.
even that requires software engineering or coding at the end of it, right?
Right.
So you can't just go and write code like someone tells you, right, do this, and you can't. You need some foundational domain knowledge about it. So a person writing code for flying a space aircraft or spaceship would
Mm.
need to understand the physics behind it. Why are we coding something? So
Right.
for his case, physics would, the physics that he learned in school would come into his help. For machine learning, someone writing code in that, or a machine learning engineer, the maths that he did in school, that comes to
Mm.
help. And by
So
school, you
you
mean,
were a part of it, right? When you were in
uh,
undergrad.
so I am actually on the other side of it. I learned it the hard way. So since we are at the topic of machine learning and AI, so there are two things about it. So the point I was stressing on is you have to have a very solid foundation in math and
Mm.
linear algebra and stuff like that, which I did not have. As I mentioned, I didn't really like
So
mathematics a lot.
you started as a machine learner, if I am not wrong. You
Yeah,
did.
so it's called machine learning engineer.
Yeah, machine
So
learning engineer.
yeah.
So I that is how I know you. And so what made
Mhm.
you leave that and get into computer science and
Mm.
like let's come further in your journey because
Uh-huh.
as audience have such a short attention time also.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Yeah, no, it's actually, you've linked it perfectly. So the
mm,
point I was trying to make is, when I was after graduating, I got this job at a startup in Mumbai as a machine
mm,
learning engineer, because I had done some courses during my undergrad and online, and I had some background, right? So yeah, so for a startup, it's more about doing things and writing code, implementing things. It's like a get shit done attitude that you have,
mm,
where the focus is not on research. It's about building a
yeah.
product. Okay, just pushing something out of the door
Mm,
and see if it doesn't make sense, because you're raising money, right? So yeah, so for that, that was a very uh, useful thing for me where I am right now.
Mm.
But I currently am not working as a machine learning engineer. I kind of pivoted from that path. And the main reason was this, because I did not have a foundational knowledge in mathematics.
Mm.
And to be like a very, there are two aspects of it in machine learning, being a machine learning engineer or data scientist. One is the research aspect, where if you have a good foundational knowledge, you can, research or build your own algorithms. And the second is the implementational side of it, the
Mm.
more engineer part of machine learning engineer, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
So their job is to implement stuff, okay, build
Mm.
things. So one is just researching, writing in theory, but coming up with, algorithms.
Right.
Second is using these algorithms as a code and
Mm.
making sense out of it, making it,
Mm.
using it in a product. So I realized my um interest, or where I was good at, was the second part of it, not the first.
Okay.
And to actually go back and start all over again, I felt it was like a big. I don't think I had it in me. So that was one of the reasons. But
Mm.
it wasn't like I totally gave up. So the main reason which brought me was I decided to go for my master. So which allowed me some time to take courses which focus on the mathematical aspect of it.
Right.
So I thought maybe if I go there, if I spend some time, I'll probably get good at it
Mm.
and you know uh, progress in my career further. So so just to summarize it,
Yeah.
at Unfound, when I was working in India, I was more on the implementational side, working as an engineer,
Right.
implementing machine learning algorithms.
Mm.
After coming here, I wanted to be like a more data scientist thing, who was involved in research as well.
Right.
So that was my two-step journey to this.
So,
But
like
after
the
coming here,
major part that I think everybody
uh-huh.
would want to know is like, how did you decided on going abroad and studying, and what was the process like? And I think this is something that everybody would like to know.
So usually there are two tracks that people usually take, students, right? After engineering, during the third, fourth year, right? If
Right.
you decided that, okay, I just directly want to go pursue my masters without doing a job, you can do that, right? Or I took the other way. I thought of getting some
Okay.
experience doing a job and then probably going. So which would help me. So I had that thing in my mind,
Mm.
but I wasn't sure. So I just went ahead. I looked for a job. But usually during your third and fourth year, you give your
Mm.
international exams. They're called GRE and TOEFL, and
Yeah.
they're accepted throughout the world. So based on that, once you take the score, give the exam, get your scores. You can apply
Mm.
for universities based on the score, and if you get in, you're all set. So
So,
basically,
are there any parameters, just like you said?
surprisingly, the exam that is there, it's not technical. So it tests you on maths and English.
Okay.
So which is kind of good and in a
Mm.
way. So you just have to be thorough with your maths based fundas and stuff like that, which Indians by
Mm.
default are good at. So you don't have to worry. But
No,
uh,
I'm.
even I wasn't, but you get the point. So
Um,
like even if like plus minus I used to take an extra effort, but in general we
uh,
don't struggle. Where we struggle is the English aspect. It's huge. It's like 50%.
mm.
So Indians have to put a lot of effort in, because it's
And is it like you
international.
need to have some work experience beforehand?
Yes, so that's like a mm, widely debated thing, So some
Okay.
people, in general, the consensus is that it's better to have some work experience before going for masters, because when you
Mm.
complete your masters and look for a job, be it in the
Right.
United States or Australia or Europe, it's it's always easier, right? If you have some to show something, it's not like what you work in India. It'll get
Yeah.
negated or something. It
But is
doesn't
it
count.
like required? Is it like a
No,
basic
no, 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 no,
requirement?
no, no.
It
Absolutely
is
not.
not.
Absolutely not. It's more than like you can just. In fact, most of the students, right? They don't go for what I've
So
seen.
so
They,
you gave your GRE exam, and then how much you scored? How did you get it?
so okay, I'll give you this. So GRE exam is out of 340. Okay,
Hmm.
340 marks, and it's equal 170, 170. Like I said, 170 is for maths, it's called quants,
Hmm.
and 170 is for English. So it's a addition of both, and your final score is out of 340. So I actually kind of bombed my first attempt. I got
Okay.
300
Uh,
for whatever reasons, right? So
that's
yeah,
great.
but
I think 300.
300, no, 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 no. So 300 is
It's not
not
great.
one. It's not like, so it depends, right? So it in the US where I was targeting the universities, uh, so there are a lot of universities. So it ranges from there are, I think 200, 300. So from
Hmm.
first to 300, the scores they accept is different. The criteria. So if you say from below 100, right, the ranked universities, you can get into them with a score of 300, 305, and stuff like that. But if you
Hmm.
want to get into good universities, which should be a goal
Okay.
and is a goal for everyone,
Yeah.
you have to get a score in the range of 320, 320, 325, 318, 319, stuff like that.
Okay.
So that was my target. I bombed. I just got 300. I was obviously in a very horrible state. But yeah, so I just went. The best part about it is you can give it any number of times, the GRE exam. So it's not like
Okay.
just one time thing, and that's true with
Okay.
every any international exam, be it for MBA
Hmm.
or anything. So I
Hmm.
gave it again in a month, and I just went back, saw where I was, what went wrong and stuff, and this time I got like 322, which is,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. So thanks to that, I got into Northeastern University, which is
Hmm.
in Boston, in US,
Hmm.
which is known for, it has a good computer science score. So I was happy. So that's what I was saying. Like 320 around that range gets you into a very very good
Hmm.
university. So yeah. So coming to your question, that like 320 is a good score that you should be targeting.
Okay. So, how is it being like in states, and how has
It
it's fun.
is.
I mean, you have reached in a position where you're working with IBM right now.
Mhm.
I mean, how much of an effort did you take to reach there, and how
Right.
did you get
So
into IBM?
sure, yeah. So US, at least for computer science, electrical or tech, right? It's like it's called the land of opportunities because there are a lot of tech companies here, like all the popular names, right? Twitter, Google, Facebook. They were started in the US, so their headquarters are there. So naturally, they
Yeah.
have a lot of uh, job openings over here, and they pay very well. And the work environment and everything is, it's like they
Yeah.
compensate their employees very well. So for software
Hmm.
engineers or electrical engineers or tech guys, right, or data analysts or anything, US is a very very safe and a good place to be after your master. So
So the working
that's,
environment is nice.
yeah, basically. So it's like the tech environment is there over here,
Hmm.
and I would in fact say it's same in India as well. So even India, it's like the tech scene, it's quite booming. So I have my friends and the packages they're getting, right. It's really amazing what's happening there. In fact, it's even better than what's happening in Europe, Australia, or things like that. Where because even though they are like developed countries over there, and the job scene, it's not that good. It's also difficult getting a job in, let's
Hmm.
say, Europe or Australia, because the tech scene is not that evolved over there as compared to India or US, where software is a big industry, right?
So
So
engineers should say either in India or in US. That's what you're saying.
I don't want to be biased because I mean I've seen that life. I've come here. I've seen the opportunities and stuff like that. So I can speak for that. But yeah, in general, what I see from sitting here, it's not that much. There is still like job opportunities and stuff
Hmm.
there, but comparatively lesser. And also in Europe and stuff like that, the language barrier kicks in. So for example, if you want to work in Germany, you need to learn German. It's
That is there. But
yeah, it's
speaking of, salary and everything, what is an average salary a software engineer gets? And,
uh,
you know, and I'm speaking about a software engineer in the US. I mean,
sure,
I
yeah.
know what's the projection in India and how much they are
Mhm.
getting paid.
Sure, yeah. So I obviously won't say my salary, but in general,
You can
the
tell me the
yeah, yeah,
how much does a beginner get and what's the average
yeah.
you
So
get.
yeah, so it's called new grad, the term. which is like straight after college, what you will be earning, right?
Mm.
New grad software engineer. So, and the salary range depends on the location in the United States.
Okay.
So there are some places like cities where
Huh.
the cost of living is higher, so
Okay.
companies pay you more for the same position. So if there are two people, one got a job in, let's say, San Francisco, where I am, right?
Mm. Mm.
San Francisco being in California, it has higher taxes, higher gas prices, higher
Mm.
rent of living, cost of living.
Right.
So for a new grad software engineer, you can expect anywhere in the range of 130, 140, 150,000 dollars per year. So
Mm.
which comes to roughly 80, 90 lakhs per annum in rupees.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, that's on the higher end of the scale. But if you're working in let's say a rural area, right, where there is not,
Right.
it's not a city basically, it's like a
Huh.
town. If you're working there, you can expect somewhere around 100, 120K
Mm.
dollars per year. So the range would be 100 to 150 for a new grad
But
software
that's such
engineer.
a fair scale. I mean, that's such a
Yeah,
fair
yeah.
way of doing it. I mean, in India, I don't think so. It happens. Coming from a journalism background, I don't see it happening. In Bangalore, also you are paid the similar way, and in Delhi also you are paid the similar way. So,
That's true, and I think the big reason behind that is obviously the companies are paying that much because they are earning that much because of the software. Because currently in this world, right, almost
mm.
everything you see, it's being powered by some code someone has written behind it. The monitor, tube
Ah,
light, not tube
I
light, but
mean,
like smart lights and stuff. So if it's more like a demand supply thing. So that's why the thing which my parents or everyone around me said, computer science karlo, bahut scope hai. And this is actually what I realized later. The scope is, it seems like a cliche
hope
term,
to
but yeah, that's what it translates to in real life.
you enjoying your life. I mean, other than work, where can we find Akshay, and what can we find Akshay doing? If I
Yeah,
would.
so yeah, I actually after coming here, I started focusing a lot on my health. I, like you've seen me,
Oh, a
I
huge
was,
transformation.
yeah. So to answer your question, you can find me in the gym. But yeah, so I focused a lot on that, keeping myself in shape, focusing on my health
Mhm.
and these things. So and just taking a step back, coming to the pursuing a master's right, abroad, it gives you that space that you need, going away from friends and family. It's tough, but it's
Mm.
also you're in your own zone where you can focus on yourself. You can do things you like other than your work, of course.
Right.
So yeah, so I would say it's a very enriching journey. The experiences that you get when you
Mm.
just leave to go somewhere on your own for masters or
Yeah, I've
whatever.
seen you traveling so many places. I mean, tell us places
Yeah.
that you've been in. I mean,
Oh yeah.
since
So yeah,
you're.
it's still my goal to just to see travel the whole US at least where I am.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, I've took that seriously ever since I started my masters, right? So every
Mm.
year I used to just list down the places that okay interest me, that are near me. That's kind of a
Mm.
bucket list,
Mm.
and I just kept on checking. Like US, it's a big country, so you can, even if you spend 5 years here, you won't cover everything. So yeah, it's I know
Yeah.
it's a long list, but yeah. So this is again like one thing I discovered which I liked was traveling, other
Mm.
than working out stuff like that. So the
Right.
bubble that I was talking about, the zone you get, personal space,
Mm.
to work on yourself,
I have
think
seen you
what
doing
you
some
like.
solo trips. How was
Oh,
it like?
it's actually I saw. So speaking of experiences, right? Like when you go to different places, you see people doing that. And after
Mm.
coming here, actually, I saw that it's in the culture of the people here doing solo trips, just
Mm.
picking your bag and going somewhere, go on a hike. And that was
Yeah.
actually because in India, you used to, if you go anywhere, you go with friends, right? That's like the
Mm.
natural thing. But here, people actually don't care about that much. When I used to hike in a group, right, I used to see so many people just going with their dog or going alone,
Mm.
and it seemed fascinating. I just tried it once, uh, and I liked it. I liked it honestly. It's you're alone with your thoughts,
I
with
think
your
that's
this.
the cultural difference also. I mean, in India, it's so packed and people are
Hmm.
so closely binded. We
Correct.
want to do
Correct.
everything together. And I think when you move out, you see that there's a lot to explore in your own self. I mean, there's so
Correct.
much to
Exactly.
explore within rather than
Exactly.
just being
So
out there.
correct. So happens.
And you and I think two things that added to your thing was traveling, and the other thing was your transformation. Matlab,
Hmm.
you started, I think, being healthy, and I think that's
That's a very subtle way to put it. But yeah, it's fine. Let's just say I was
even
fat. I was fat.
I'm not in my best fit, I guess. So
No, it's okay.
everybody,
It's okay. It's okay. No, no, it's fine, right? So I
no,
was, yeah.
Akshay, now it's okay when you're all slim and fit.
I
Now
can
it's
say that. I can say that. Right? So yeah, I was fat, and it's not just I. Before coming here, I gained a lot of fat. Since childhood, I was healthy. Okay, and
um,
it happened even more uh, before I came in the last 1 2 years. So yeah, I was like 95 kilos back then. And after
mm.
coming here, I just knew in my mind, like till now, it was like
I
this.
mean,
I
how
this
does it come to people? I mean, I've seen so many people getting transformed into, being the
uh
fittest they should be. What
hmm,
comes in your mind and how does that happen?
I
People
would
like me
say
wants to know.
so. If it's rather if you're more fat, the motivation to get leaner is more. If and if you're like less fat, you're like okay, you're not that fat that you face all those issues in your mind psychologically. If you're like already you face those things, you have the motivation is more, and
Mm.
it's all about that motivation. To be honest, like if you
I don't
decide,
think so. People used to judge you in any different way, and I don't think so. They behave any
uh,
differently now. Does that
no,
happen?
no, it's not about people. You think it's about
Uh,
people, but
mm,
it's more about yourself, how you see yourself, right? You
mm,
when this is my experience, okay? I'm not speaking for everyone out there, okay?
mm.
I used to limit myself in my head, thinking even before I tried to do something, I knew that okay, I can't do this. This is not for me because
Mm.
things like simple example, going on a hike, right? Going on a
Yeah,
hike, doing cycling or not cycling, but okay, things like that, physical activities. Like
yeah,
even
yeah.
before trying, I was like, I would think that okay, I won't be able to do it or I will struggle to do it. So
Mm.
I won't do it. But now once I feel mentally fitter rather than physically.
Yeah,
Like if you
yeah.
be physically fit, you feel mentally fit. That's what I've seen. So you try to
Mm.
do a lot of things. So that's why coming here, right? I once I
Mm.
started seeing results, it pushes you
Mm.
more. So that's why I took up hiking, which is like a very big hobby of mine.
Mm.
So I learned that. Then what else? I recently I just tried skydiving on my birthday.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
which like 4 or 5 years ago I would have never imagined me doing that. So
yeah.
yeah, so
But
things
it
like that.
must have been an experience of a lifetime, no?
Yes, that's true. It's amazing.
Talking a lot about sports and stuff, I think I'll try to bring back to the topic that we were at.
Mhm.
So, also I want to ask you, what are the different specialization and at this point in this 2022 year, what do you think is the best specialization to get into? I mean, if somebody has
That's a
done
very
engineering.
wrong question to ask. I feel there's no such thing as best.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's
mostly, what do you expect when you do your graduation or you do your master? You expect money. So what I'm asking you is that
hmm,
what is the highest paying job in the field of engineering, and what do you think one should pursue? Obviously, as per their interest, but
mhm.
what are the few specializations that would bring you
Um, yeah. So
and that has
speaking
scope?
scope, these both the things are related, right? If there's more scope, there'll be more money because by scope you mean demand. Okay, so if there's more
Right,
demand for something, there'll be more money for that. So
and it's
right
high
now,
time people understand this.
yes, this is what I learned as well.
Mm.
So yeah, so scope. It seems a cliche term, but it's basically demand. So yeah, so right
Correct.
now software engineering it's like still in demand, which I am actually surprised. Ever since
Mm.
2000, it's been growing, and right now everything around you it's all software. So
Mm.
software engineer in today's times is the safest, and I feel the most, or whatever you
And there's
define it.
always more things to learn, no? So you have a base and then you keep adding more.
Yeah, so software engineer, when I say, it's very, basically what I'm trying to say, you should be good at writing code. Okay. Once you have that, you
Mm-hmm.
have the specialization that you spoke of, right? It's very easy to juggle or jump between the two once you're in this thing. So for example,
Mm.
speaking of my this, I started it as a ML engineer, machine learning. And then I felt that, okay, I started gaining interest in something called as cloud, which is like a big, you know, thing which is
Mm.
coming up right now. So the thing is happening is in the industry, everyone first had all the softwares and everything, databases on their server. In that, if you are a company, you will have all the
Mm.
software with you. Okay. But now every business or everything is moving to the cloud. Basically, you don't manage anything. You just
Right.
remote, like Facebook will have a data center somewhere in Europe
Mm.
and everything is running there. So only from your computer you can access it. So
Mm.
yeah, so cloud is a very big thing right now, and I kind of I got interested. I wonder what things are involved. So stuff like
Right.
scripting, then understanding networking, how things work behind the
Mm.
scenes. Right, when you set like the video call that we're having right now, it's
Mm.
all data being sent over the internet, right? So the things are being processed on servers which are sitting, in India, Europe, who knows. So
Mm.
being a software engineer working in cloud means just that. How do you handle things which are not on your computer, but some other computer, and remotely how you can, handle things.
Mm.
So yeah, so working in cloud is one specialization which I'm currently
Mm.
working on with IBM. But other than that, machine learning and AI is still booming, and it's going to be even more. Um, Networking, sorry, not network. Hardware is one thing. So you have companies
Mm.
like Nvidia or Apple. Okay, so if
Mm.
I was a software engineer working in Apple, right? So I would be writing code which is powering an iPhone, and that is different than if I'm working on, say, software engineer at Facebook who is building websites.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're still writing code, but what you're writing that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah.
Coding
So
is.
but coding is, it's at the end, it's all about you will be coding
Mm-hmm.
so as a software engineer. It's the
Mm-hmm.
domain of specialization may change. Yeah, I think one point like we should stress on, we spoke a lot about coding, but what coding is, right? Or what the better term is programming. So
Mm.
how can someone sitting at 12th standard right now, or someone doing engineering right now, be good at it, right? Because that is the time you can, sharpen your skills, work on it. Once you start your job, it's the very difficult. Even though it's easier to switch, what like I said, career, but to do that you need to study, right? You need to have that foundation. So getting that later is difficult as compared to in college. So doing things like understanding. So data structures is a term. It's similar. It's the theory behind computer science, how algorithms work. Okay. So
Mm.
algorithms and data structures are very, very important for what we do as computer engineers or
Mm.
software engineers. So, and these courses or these videos or these subjects, right, are being taught in
Yeah.
almost every computer science or even electronics course, which is like
Mm-hmm.
for engineering, it's very basic.
Any book or any video that you would like to recommend, or things that
Uh,
a student who wants to pursue something, in software engineering, maybe cloud or maybe data. What are the
mhm.
things that he can look forward to, or he or
Sure,
she?
yeah. So actually, I would recommend. So different universities suggest for these courses, right? They suggest their own books, but there are
Mm.
like internationally accepted two or three specific books for computer science, which everyone refers to. So one is it's called Data Structures and Algorithms (DSA),
Yeah.
which is yeah. So the books, like most students would know that they're
Mm.
more recognized by the authors and not by the names. So I'm telling you the
Uh,
name. I forgot the author's name. It's
uh-huh.
I don't know, but yeah, data. It's called Data Structures and Algorithms. It covers basically. It's like this 1,000 pages book.
Mm.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I remember. It's
Uh,
Carmen, Carmen. That he's the author.
okay.
So if you
Mm.
if you just tell Carmen to any someone studying or
Mm.
working into this field, he'll know that.
Mm.
So understanding how algorithms work, how basics of programming languages work. So I can name a few like Java or Python or C++. So
Yeah.
just so all this might sound initially very intimidating, but just pick one. Let's say pick Java
Mm.
and start reading the algorithms, what it is. See if you have interest. If you do, then this might
Any
be.
book that you are reading right now, and something related to your stream, or maybe you go through every
Mm,
day, or it adds to your learning. Any tips and tricks for students who want to get into this, and how can they prepare themselves for a better outcome?
sure. So one, yeah, it's a very good question that the continual learning, right? Okay, I learned something
Mm.
initially which I'm using, but how do I keep
Yeah.
updating with stuff like that?
Yeah.
So like once you learn data structures and algorithms, right? So there is for software engineers at least, or for in general, right? There
Mm.
are these websites, okay? It's called LeetCode, HackerRank, and stuff like that. So what they do is
Mm.
they ask you questions, real life questions, right? Uh, in the form of and ask you to write a code. They'll give you a question and they'll ask you write a code for this, for solving this. So it can be
Mm.
any imaginary problem or stuff like that. And this is a place where the things that you've learned in theory, in your books and
Uh,
whatever, you can apply it and start, seeing are you able to convert it into code? Because that's what matters, right? You may know 100 things. If you
mm.
can't code it,
Mm.
it doesn't make sense. So I would say this is what is very useful in your background, right, in the free time. Even I actually sometimes just pull up that website. I just start solving questions. Even if I don't have, there's no goal that I have to hit these
Mm.
many. Just to keep
Mm.
my skills updated, we do this. So if students and the biggest point is, no matter what job you want in computer science, the first thing they ask in the interview, right? I think we've missed this point. How does software
Mm.
engineering interviews look like?
Sure,
They're
you
not
can
go,
tell us.
they're not going to ask you, okay, how do you what does this mean in Python? What does this mean in Java? What tell me what do you know? They'll
Uh,
straightforward ask you, give you a simple question, ask you to write a code for it. And the websites
okay.
that I mentioned give you exactly that format. So basically, when you're doing this, when you're sharpening your skills, you're also preparing for your interview, right? So
Mm.
that's also like the main reason behind it. So you should always be
Mm.
updated with uh, things that you've learned, how you apply it, and keep on practicing. And that's how you can crack your interviews for getting into a software engineering job. And that this thing
Mhm.
is same, be it US or India or anywhere in the world. All software engineering interviews have the same process. That initially, once the recruiter reaches out, one round would be giving coding round. They give you a question,
Mm.
you write a code. One round you talk with the manager or a team member. He'll go through your resume and see what
Right.
have you done. Does it align with what the team is doing? Would you be a
Mm.
good fit? And if it's like a more senior role, there'll be more technical rounds or interviews. So but basically all the technical rounds say the same thing. It's you should be good at coding. So and how do you get good at coding? By doing solving problems,
So
practicing
you should
them.
always keep solving problems. But I mean, to get good in coding, I think what you need is practice. Is it that?
Practice plus no. So it's not like you learn A and you keep on applying A. No. So what you're learning, right, the
Mm.
data structures and algorithm, you're learning A, B, C, D, E. There are fundamental algorithms and there'll be
Mm.
1,000 problems which use either A, B, C, D or a combination of these. So your
So
fundamentals should be
I
strong.
think your fundamentals need to be clear to explore, and to
Correct.
keep
Correct.
on experimenting and knowing that this will solve it. Okay, so I
Exactly.
think it's such an interesting job then. I mean, if every day you have to solve something new, I think it's quite interesting.
um,
It's just a different language that you're solving it in.
Correct. Correct. So and that's the fun part about it. So you might know language A, say Java.
Hmm.
I might know Python. But the
Right.
algorithm, right? That's what we are trying to code. It's the same. So if you
Hmm.
code something in Java, I can look at the code and the algorithm behind it, and I can do the same thing in Python. So language is just like a dress that you're wearing for some,
Hmm.
I don't know, puppet or
Yeah.
something. So the
Yeah.
underlying thing is the same. So algorithm is the main thing, and the
What are the programming languages that are up in the market trend right now?
sure. So when I was speaking with cloud, right? Speaking of the cloud domain, you need to know a lot of shell script, which is or Linux. Linux is an operating
Linux.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Windows. So you need to know what's happening because most of the cloud systems, right, or the remote servers are there. They're based out Linux. So you need to know how things work in Linux. What's the architecture? What's different commands? Sorry, to run it.
Mm.
And shell scripting is a language that's built on top of it on to write programs. That's one. For machine learning in AI, you usually heavily people use Python for that, and there are a lot of reasons for it. But it's also one of the most easiest languages to learn initially. So if there
Python.
are Python, yeah, Python. It's it's the name of a snake, but yeah, Python. It's a very fun language. I personally that was the first one which I fell in love with when I started. So because it's very easy, it's very easy to understand, right? Even someone who's new to it can learn it in like a week, which is amazing. Whereas compared to something like
I
C plus
like
plus,
when
oh yeah,
I was in when I read computer science, when we had to in
uh-huh.
ICT board. So I think I just knew C plus and JavaScript, and I think that was the only
I
thing
think
that.
that's where people kind of I in 11 12 right I also started with C plus plus. I
Hmm.
looked at the code and I was like, no, I am not doing this. I don't think I'll ever get good at this because C
Is
plus plus
Python
Java.
easier than C plus?
Yeah. So it comes to what we learn, right? The things that you code or program, they're very logical. Okay,
Hmm.
so you want to do A, how do I write a code for it? So the way to do A, like how to code A, right?
Hmm.
It's different in C++, it's different in Java, it's different in Python.
Hmm.
But Python gives you a very logical way to write code. There is a lot of English involved in it. It's very scripting. It's called a scripting language because you're writing code as if you're typing something. Okay,
There are
so
other programming languages too. If I'm
yeah,
not
so these are
pronouncing it
the
wrong,
popular
Talib,
ones. Sorry, what?
Tableau. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
So there
So
are languages on the
yeah.
base, and then there are tools which are built on top of that. So Tableau,
Okay.
which you spoke, is a tool which
Okay.
data analysts use or even data scientists use for
Okay.
working with data, basically analyzing it,
Mhm.
visualizing it, and stuff like that. So yeah,
So, like the
but
most common programming language is Python.
right now, yes, because there are so many applications for it. But if you ask me what uh, most of the, let's say if you ask what is Facebook built on, right, the website that you see, that's not Python because you can right now it's Python is being used in a lot of places that with like you can do anything that any Java or C++ can do. But traditionally the systems that everything was built on, right, initially there was no Python, right? So C++ and Java was historically things are being built on that, and they're quite stable. But now
Okay.
Python is coming up. You can do everything you can write websites, you can write machine learning algorithms or code or
Okay.
anything. So it's becoming popular and spreading slowly, but still like the websites and all, if you work for Facebook, right, they'll ask you to write code in JavaScript or PHP or stuff like that. So yeah, so there are.
Okay. With this, I think I'll bring in my last question that I wanted to
Okay.
ask you. Have you developed any application, or are you looking forward to develop any? And do you have any?
uh yeah, I'll be honest. Okay, this whole thing, doing projects, right, or building something of your own in your free
Yeah.
time. I used to do it in college. Okay, even
Mm.
during my masters, I would say I worked on some projects. But yeah, ever since like started working, I didn't really. I stopped
Okay.
doing that. I don't know why. So, but yeah, I think
Maybe
it's a
you're
good thing.
confined with the job that you are in right now.
Uh yeah, there's that, and plus, I feel there are other things as well right now. Like I can't, I don't want to just during the day work on my job and then work on a project. There are other things I feel
Hmm.
which I've started to, which I didn't earlier. So
Right.
yeah, so things like on the weekends, I go for hikes, I travel, or I start learning tennis how to play tennis. It's a thing here.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I mean there are like free courts, so you can just
Hmm.
take a racket and go and play. So things like that. So I feel
You're becoming so full of life. You're like, enough of work
uh,
that I do. There are other
uh,
things in life.
yeah, you can say that. You can, but I think it's more. I missed all that earlier. Even listen, even playing football, right? Like back in India, I did not. I feel so now. I think I have some time. I would rather do that. Learn
But
these
that's
things which I
nice.
want to.
Lessening the hustle culture, and I think
Yeah,
it
mental
is
health. Mental health is
mental
important.
mental health is important.
So yeah, this keeps me sane, I would say.
Okay, with that, we'll wrap up this. I mean, this was a long interview. I hope you get some insight from this and you get to know how you can proceed in your stream and your career. So, also, if you want to ask Akshay anything about, cloud engineering or any sort of stream that you want to get into, I think people can connect with you on LinkedIn.
Sure, yeah, LinkedIn or Instagram even because I'm
Yeah.
guilty of
Oh,
spending a
he
lot
has
of
a
time
beautiful
there.
Instagram, by the way. I did
No,
not
not
mention
not
that.
to not to brag about or gain followers, but in general, I like to have that as my
Yeah, because
creative
that's more
outlet.
handy. Yeah, it's more handy,
Yeah,
and you can quickly reply to people's queries. If you have any, you can
yeah,
completely hit up Akshay and
yeah. Even
obviously
that
mind
or
the gap of
LinkedIn.
12 hours.
No, no, it's okay. Weekends or something. We can always. But yeah, I would be really glad to help someone with the journey that I have been on, for masters particularly, or anything related to computer science or whatever. So just feel free to send me a message or email me.